What happens when a quiet wife finally speaks up and the whole family scrambles to silence her? Meri Brown's simple post lit a fire no one saw coming, revealing years of control, buried secrets, and a woman reclaiming her voice after 50. If you've ever been told to stay quiet, you'll want to see this. Watch now. Have you ever witnessed a woman return to life, truly return to herself, after years of slowly diminishing into the background? Because that's what happened. And it didn't begin with a confrontation, a camera, or even a fight. It began with a cup of coffee and a silent determination to stop seeking permission. Meri Brown did not yell. She did not storm out. She just posted. And in so doing, she struck a match that might incinerate the entire family fairy tale to ashes. If you've been watching Sister Wives for a while, you understand how stormy weather has been brewing beneath the surface. A man, 4 wives, and decades of concessions masquerading as harmony. But what if the concessions begin to fray at the edges? What if the woman who for so long maintained the peace of her household decides instead to set a few boundaries? That's the question that shook the Brown family and shaken the millions of us who've been watching in relative quiet, perhaps even identifying a bit more than we might have anticipated. You see, for years, Meri lived in the shadow of a man who professed family but practiced control. She was the devoted wife, the unassuming one, the forgiving one, until she wasn't. Until she hit the kind of moment many of us are all too familiar with. That profound, quiet reckoning when you find you've sacrificed too much of yourself for far too long. And for Meri, that reckoning arrived in the form of one simple Instagram caption. No names. No accusations, only a gentle, steady phrase about respect, work, and understanding your value. But oh, did the subtext shout? It was like years of silence burst open, and through that small screen poured the voice of a woman who'd finally ceased shrinking. Cody's response? Quick, cruel, predictable. He insisted the post be removed. She sent a screenshot, and voila, a digital revolution was created, not only for Meri, but for the thousands of women who watched, who've experienced the pain of being talked over, dismissed, or erased. There's something remarkable that occurs when a woman, particularly one in midlife, ceases to whisper and begins to speak plain. She doesn't require fireworks. She doesn't have to scream. She simply knows. And when that awareness becomes public, when it falls in a world full of other people anticipating permission to utter enough, the ripple turns into a wave. That's what this is. Not reality TV nonsense, but real awakening. Because Meri is not alone. Janelle double-tapped the heart on Meri's post. Christine double-tapped a sunflower emoji. Little things perhaps, but if you've ever been forced to read between the lines, you know just how loudly those subtle signs scream. And then, the rumors began. Of clandestine meetings, of smoke trails of cash, of Cody's grip not only over hearts, but bank accounts as well. It's no longer a family beef. It's a settling of accounts, a reflection held up to years of covert power struggles and manipulated memories. And for all of us watching, particularly for those of us who've lived a little, loved a lot, and learned the hard way, this isn't entertainment. It's familiar, because we've witnessed the double standards. We've been silenced and told to shut up. And we know exactly what it feels like to finally utter, this time, I'm not backing down. So grab a coffee, get cozy, and let's walk through it together. Not just the Instagram post, not only the headlines, but the whole story about the woman who stopped waiting for someone to hand her the mic and grabbed it herself. Today, Meri's dating once more, and she knows what she wants. She wants a man who's intentional, someone who takes action, doesn't just tell her what he will do. And just as she was getting her voice and a sense of what love could look like on her own terms, one social media photo blew everything up. It began with something trivial. Meri had just drained the final warm mouthful of her caramel latte, content as she posted a personal Instagram message. Nothing salacious, merely some self-reflection. The sort that resonates on boundary lines, respect, and remembering your own value. But within minutes, it all imploded. Her phone vibrated. A text. And not any text. Cody. The preview line itself was enough to make her drop her stomach. Take it down, now. People close to the family indicate Cody's message was not nice. Actually, it was written in all capital letters, complete with exclamation marks and lots of pressure. He alleged the post reflected poorly on him. like he'd been personally attacked. And he threatened Meri that if she did not take it down, there would be repercussions, not just on her, but on the family. But hold up a minute here. Weren't they already separated? Hadn't Meri finally walked into independence? Why should she require anyone's approval, least of all Cody's, to speak the truth? It's also interesting to observe that Meri's attitudes towards dating are fairly old-fashioned in a few respects. She's indicated previously that if a man wishes to become acquainted with her, he is supposed to make the contact. He ought to open the door. He ought to pay for the date. If a guy says, "Let's split it," well, that's a deal breaker for her. That may be old-fashioned to some, but to Meri, it's about effort, not finances. It's about being deliberate. And meanwhile, back in the melodrama, rumor has it Cody didn't even read the post himself. Not initially. Sources claim that one of the younger Brown kids took a screenshot as soon as it was live and sprinted directly to Dad, perhaps eager to keep him in their good books. You can almost imagine it. Cody storming around the room, veins bulging at the temples, phone clutched like a club, blasting angry texts in the family group chat. Even as the marriages are crumbling, control still appears to be Cody's preferred currency. Meri glared at her screen. The cursor pulsed back at her patiently. For an instant, she thought about saying nothing, allowing the post to stand on its own. But then she recalled silence never served her before, and something inside her stirred. Meri didn't delay long. With a smiling defiance, she composed a brief, cutting response. All of 3 lines, courteous in tone, but infused with a definite sense of insubordination. She went so far as to add a cheeky winking emoji, as though to say, "Well played, Cody." And then, just to make the point irrevocable, she appended a screenshot of her initial post, still very much active. By a friend of hers, the tension in the room was almost palpable, as if the anticipation before a summer storm. And the reaction, immediate. Her phone glowed like a video poker machine, likes piling up by the hundreds, then the thousands. Followers inundated her posting with support. Hashtags exploded like weeds. #stand tall, Meri delete. The remarks turned into a chorus of midlife empowerment. Women of every kind recounted tales of becoming themselves again, cheering Meri on with such affirmations as, "We see you, sister." But while Meri's online self-assurance escalated, things on Cody's side went awry. His page suddenly shifted into overdrive. Post after post was taken over by critics, bringing up previous wounds, former family gatherings, and the one-way nature of his relationships. Fans weren't holding back. They remembered it all. But the true tempest was only beginning. Behind the scenes, Meri's following allegedly shot up, gaining over 50% in a single night. Meanwhile, Cody frantically scrambled. Word has it that he was busily spinning some sort of damage control message. Something, anything, to ease the wave of backlash before it turned into a complete flood. And then, as the first light of morning colored the sky in pale peaches and golds, Meri's phone vibrated once more. This time, a proposal for an exclusive primetime interview. And just when you thought it would break, yet another moment came like a punch to the gut. Meri remembered a conversation with Cody only a few weeks before. He had locked eyes with her and said, "I'm still grieving the loss of our marriage." Meri's response was blunt. "Cody, you don't get to tell me that." But he insisted, "Yes, I do." And Meri, a lifetime of anguish welling up behind her words, told what countless others were probably thinking. "No, you don't. Not after all that you've said about me. On television, in public, to the world. How you said you never loved me. Those words do not just vanish." She did not scream. She did not have to. Her power lay in her composure. And as she hovered above her screen, scanning the latest interview request, she smiled to herself. The next move was hers to make. But one thing was certain. The digital firestorm was only just beginning. Now back to exactly 24 hours ago. Meri had just come back from a serene dawn hike. The sky was gentle, her heart was calm, and something inside of her had changed. Those around her would say the hike brought her into focus, a potent combination of anger and freedom. That's when she took out her phone and started composing the caption that would eventually rattle the internet. It wasn't words, it was a declaration, a powerful, reflective statement on self-worth, strength, and the unshakable freedom to voice her truth. Parade magazine would subsequently quote her word for word. "A woman who knows her worth never bargains it away." That sentence carried weight. It was graceful, but firm, beautiful, but strong. And if you'd watched her journey over the years, the quiet sighs, the lingering glances, the hurt she never shouted, you knew exactly who those words were meant for. What made Meri's post land even harder? She never really mentioned Cody. Not once. But that omission, it was strong, deliberate. By not saying his name, she was letting her followers piece things together for themselves. And they did, quickly. Those who had been tuning in to the family drama for decades recalled the shouting matches, the stress on that notorious family couch, and all the sobbing confessions. Meri didn't need to say it. The memories supplied the details for her. Social media early birds were the first to smell the aroma of veiled shade. And soon enough, people were metaphorically munching on popcorn. Soap Opera Spy got it best online, highlighting how Meri's ruminations about self-worth and contemporary romance were a double whammy of a not-so-subtle mirror. One that mirrored Cody's age-old problem of balanced partnership. Aging fans, particularly women 50 and older, flocked to the comments as they might rally around a friend. Instead of emojis, they articulated with words. This was not just encouragement, it was solidarity. One of the veteran viewers put it so well. "You just preached the sermon my pastor never dared deliver." That single line racked up thousands of likes overnight. And suddenly, Meri's comment section transformed into a kind of informal support group, a gathering place for women who had spent too long swallowing their truth. Now, they were done staying quiet. But the real drama lived in the details. Some of Meri's most devoted fans zoomed in on a photo that accompanied the post. It showed a coffee mug. Seems harmless, right? But written across it, in big cursive script, were these words: "Boundaries are beautiful." That phrase stung, because eagle-eyed viewers knew it. That very same mug had been on her kitchen counter during a dramatic episode taped the previous fall. The very same episode where, off camera, a huge blow-up had occurred over finances shared. That wasn't a mug anymore. It was a sign. Reddit, TikTok, and Facebook fans began piecing things together. Quickly, whispers went around, some claiming that Cody had once coerced Meri into dropping her guard and playing along out of respect for the family reputation. So in light of all this, that little mug wasn't cute decor. It was a silent rebellion, a handshake with underlying thorns. And then came another shrewd maneuver. Hidden at the end of Meri's caption was a snide little addendum. "Screenshot before it vanishes, friends." To some, it seemed frivolous, a wink, but to others, it was Meri's acknowledgement of the pressure she'd inevitably receive. Perhaps she knew that a takedown request was imminent, and if so, she wasn't about to be surprised. Sure enough, screenshots circulated like wildfire. Fans were quick, capturing her post before anyone could delete. That particular post, it wasn't leaving the site, and way down in the depths of comments was a one-word response. A peculiar account, reportedly belonging to one of the Brown kids, had merely typed, "Yikes." On the surface, it appeared just another jaw-dropped reaction. But that single word would do much more than anyone could have anticipated. Because somewhere between that subdued "yikes" and the red-faced rant from Cody, the post ended up out of Meri's loop and into his. And as it turned out, according to insiders, not by design. The rumor? One of the Brown children didn't merely respond. They hit share. They messaged their dad directly. And by doing so, they sparked the whole confrontation. So the mystery still lingered. Who was the silent messenger? And why, in that instant, opt for loyalty to Cody over being open to standing in solidarity with Meri's strong new voice? Well, that's where things get really hot. Insiders claim the catalyst for Cody's outburst could have less to do with a post and more with family stress. Whispers circulating in cyberspace, fan groups, and family watch accounts portray it as a younger Brown daughter. A woman who has apparently long walked the emotional tightrope between maintaining her father's favor and quietly backing the women who've exited. The tale goes that she caught a glimpse of Meri's boundaries post only seconds after it was put online. Given scant time to reflect, she took a quick screenshot, dumped it into a private conversation with her dad, and wrote a gasping, "Thought you should see this." But the remorse was immediate. Sources indicate that as soon as Cody marked the message read by opening it, she got the chills. Because every Brown child, regardless of age, knows what happens when Cody gets blindsided. And sure enough, His response arrived with a thunderclap, in all caps. No small talk, just a fusillade of questions fired off in close succession. Was this post recent? Did anyone else see it? Is the network aware? And at the foundation of it all, a threatening mandate. Nobody speaks to Meri till I deal with this. Cody's tactic of choice, silencing the family, was officially underway. What ensued next, according to two individuals familiar with the production team, resembled something from an old Western saloon brawl. Just before the chairs began to fly, Cody, who paced his Arizona living room, allegedly had his phone stuck to his ear. He was on the phone with Robyn 1 minute, then the show's fixer, then a lawyer pal who reputedly is on call for just this type of blow-up. He frantically typed into the family group chat, sending screenshots of Meri's post, giving orders, and issuing ultimatums. Anyone still liking or commenting on this will have consequences. Control, always his go-to tool, was now squarely directed at his own family. And in the midst of all this drama, Meri's voice was nowhere to be found in that thread. What made the moment so much more heartbreaking was a little detail fans could not get out of their minds. Just weeks before, Cody had admitted on the air, "I'm stuck. I have no money. Christine owned the house. I can't do anything. I don't believe I got myself into this." His words rang with desperation. A touch of vulnerability, perhaps, but one suffused with blame. To longtime viewers, it rang all too familiar. A man who had constructed a system on the basis of loyalty, but only when it benefited him. And the daughter who sent that text? She was said to still be gazing at her screen, her heart pounding, observing the blaze she'd set burning escalate into something much greater than she could ever have envisioned. What might have seemed like a hasty act of duty now appeared to be a Trojan horse, one that had stormed into Meri's meticulously restored tranquility. But here's the twist. Somewhere in Cody's caps-lock storm, something started to move. His tight-fisted, so familiar, so absolute for so long, grip began to falter. Because this was not 2012. This was 2025, an era where social media no longer curves to one story, where authority isn't necessarily about who yells the loudest, but who speaks most deeply. And as the day drew to an end on that wild day, something amazing was occurring. What began as a single woman's Instagram post was now an online movement. Tiny hearts had evolved into tidal waves, and control? It was no longer his to maintain. By then, Meri's message had traveled far wider than a single post on Instagram. Her soft declaration of self-reliance was being repeated throughout fan pages, gossip programs late at night, and popular hashtags. And yes, the hashtag was omnipresent, #StandTallMeri, written out, loud and proud. It had spread too big, too quickly for any behind-the-scenes request to hold it back. Word soon spread that Cody, attempting to regain control of the situation, had put out a call for an emergency family video conference. All adult children were instructed to be on camera the following morning at 9 a.m. sharp. One crew member said he even threatened that if Meri did not cease what he referred to as her defamatory antics, a lawsuit could be next. But just as Cody was about to send that meeting invite, another pop-up arrived. Meri had posted again. No tirade, no direct hits, just a sunflower emoji and 5 soft words. Beginnings are beautiful. The post hit like a thunderclap. The family group chat, dead silent. And downtown, as Cody was tightening his hold, Meri's phone was ringing with a whole different type of call. One that could, in theory, take him out of the driver's seat completely. The sole question left lingering in midair. Would she pick up? Meanwhile, viewers were still catching up with the deeper issues playing out off-screen. Meri had recently opened up about the family finances. In the early days, she explained, everyone had a say. They'd weigh in on which bills got paid first, how the money was divided, what priorities mattered. But over time, that shifted. In her own words, Cody would just withdraw money. And I don't know why. The money was just getting spent, and in great quantities. Now, here in the present, Meri's response to Cody's most recent move to control didn't bat an eyelash. Indeed, it struck with the precision of a velvet dagger. A masterful combination of elegance and toughness. Those close to her say she didn't erase, she didn't water down, and she didn't backpedal, period. Rather, she replied with 3 snappy messages, each one more cutting than the last. Message 1. Thanks for being so interested in my development. Message 2. Respect's a two-way street, sweetheart. Begging silence isn't quite the same as deserving it. And message 3. A complete screenshot of her still glowing post, now overlaid with a fresh wave of likes coming in at the bottom corner. She didn't just send the photo. She captioned it with a wink, literally spelling out WK. And then she sent it. What transpired next was revealing. The small typing bubble on Cody's side appeared, then went away, then reappeared, then disappeared for good. No further words, just silence. And for once, it was not Meri causing the silence. The same tactic Cody had attempted to employ against her, excluding communication, now backfired. And this time, he was rendered speechless. But not Meri. She was just warming up. Within minutes, her phone was ablaze like a 4th of July sky. Follows, likes, shares, everything was blowing up. Analytics companies later cited that her following increased by almost 50% within 12 hours, a spike that even the largest reality personalities seldom experience. This was no viral moment. It was a turning point. With each hour that ticked away, fresh names were appearing in Meri's corner, each one materializing like an online bouquet. Comment sections were filled with heart-shaped text and sunflower emojis. As women in their middle age, for the most part, applauded Meri for finally speaking out loud what they'd only ever muttered to themselves in private moments, perhaps in front of a bathroom mirror. The hashtags weren't hashtags anymore. They'd expanded into sentences. Boundaries are beautiful. Hashtag delete this not. It was enough to totally drown out Cody's account of what happened. By morning, gossip sites were inserting screenshots of Meri's post as if it were courtroom evidence. Podcast hosts devoured entire episodes, dissecting each sentence, like wine critics swirling an expensive vintage Cabernet, relishing each nuance. It wasn't merely social media drama. It was a cultural moment full scale. At the same time, Cody's own Instagram was besieged. What once was a flow of encouraging emojis and good wishes had become something else altogether. Polite but assertive criticisms now dominated the space. Practice what you preach. Let your wives speak. Respect is earned, not demanded. Even diehard fans were quoting scripture, verse upon verse regarding healthy love and equal leadership. One commenter, using the handle Desert Auntie, posted, Cody's all-caps tantrum would frighten away even the scorpions of Flagstaff. That line struck a chord and went viral. It was even publicly read on a late-night FM radio show that was devoted entirely to sister wives gossip. But while Cody's PR front was weakening, Meri was subtly moving up. Behind the scenes, insiders describe she'd begun assembling a small entourage. Publicists, perhaps a couple of media reps. And they were working overtime, fielding interview requests from national morning TV, women's magazines on every newsstand, and even talk shows that wanted to anoint her something special, the patron saint of starting over at 50. But not everyone was applauding. Behind closed doors, TLC executives were observing with increasing alarm. The feud had gotten too big for the show, bigger than they'd expected. So insiders say, the network held an emergency Zoom session. Their question, would this real-life drama potentially force a production change? Because if Meri continued to build steam, if her independence tour continued to stir up controversy, they feared she might demand something they weren't prepared to deliver. Further exposure of Cody's financial secrets. And just as the gossip began winding down for the evening, Meri struck again. At 11:58 p.m., she shared to her Instagram story. No pictures, no emojis, just white text on a black screen. Truth ages well, even under pressure. No hashtags, no tags, no location. It was crisp. It was intentional. It was spooky. Fans immediately speculated. Some thought she was saying that receipts were on their way, perhaps the kind that could not be ignored. And then it did. Minutes later, on a high-traffic Sister Wives subreddit, a blurry photo leaked. It appeared to be a financial record, a potential payment out of a Brown Family LLC to some unidentified private account. The figures were indistinguishable, the photo fuzzy, but that didn't matter. The fanbase caught whiff of smoke, and if tomorrow brought flames, this small cyber skirmish could boil over into a full-fledged money scandal. And Cody, he knew it. As morning sun rose higher, something large splashed online, a blurry screenshot of a bank transfer, dropped silently into a Sister Wives subreddit. The picture was difficult to decipher, but the message was loud and clear. It appeared to indicate a link between a Brown Family LLC and some unnamed private account. Blurry or not, fans immediately picked up the whiff of trouble. And they weren't letting go. Receipt chants dominated the threads. If Meri actually had evidence, concrete evidence, then all it would take was the click of the publish button. And poof, Cody's diplomatically worded pronouncements could disappear in an instant. For years, Cody's conception of fairness has been more akin to command and control than anything familial. Followers have long seen the manner in which his decisions descend like edicts. Little notice, no consultation, his way or the highway. And the money? Let us just say the tales aren't new. One story, still not confirmed, alleges that after Meri had walked away, Cody reset passwords on shared bank accounts, behind the scenes, shutting her out of money she'd had access to for decades. True or not, the larger trend is difficult to dispute. Cody's always been in charge of the purse strings. Each time a bill arose or there was a purchase to be made, Cody was the one signing the checks. No argument, no openness, no joint voice. And that's just the sort of authority Meri's post and the responses to it began to destabilize. Of all the women, Janelle has been the boldest regarding this. In a recent interview with Sukanya Krishnan in a 4-part one-on-one special, she didn't hold back. Janelle implied Cody went out of his way to make himself look worse, more evil, simply to protect Robyn from criticisms by the public. She insisted Cody constantly retold the story, over and over again, until the original got lost, replaced by a version that made Robyn innocent and eliminated the actual damage caused. The Ashley's Reality Roundup blog was one of many that featured that interview extensively, and audiences worldwide asked the same question: whose truth is Cody really fighting for? This kind of control wasn't just confined to bank accounts, though. It extended to larger decisions, life decisions. E! News reminded the audience of when Cody thought about ditching the family's 14-acre Coyote Pass estate. Despite the mortgage, $820,000, having been paid off just 2 years ago, he broached the subject of selling it all and starting over. That sounds virtuous, until you hear what followed. He didn't discuss it with the group, not with the other wives, just Robyn. Janelle later called that moment heartbreaking. To her, it was like throwing out a family dream that they had created together, without even having the decency of a conversation. And supporters concurred, because new starts sound beautiful, until the bulldozers arrive. Janelle did not remain silent either. She turned to her increasing number of social media followers to reveal what she referred to as the unwritten rulebook of the Brown family, a regime where Cody required absolute loyalty and marked anything else as disrespect or betrayal. Her entries contrasted actual partnership with what she characterized as a managed, top-down arrangement. That space, the one Janelle fought for, is what enabled Meri's moment of empowerment to actually stick. She wasn't simply responding in a void. She was stepping into a tradition, a rich history of voices being silenced, edited, or dismissed. Christine has also suggested as much in her memoir teases. Cody established rules, literally clauses, concerning who could speak and when, she says. Even small choices, according to her, were enforced under the auspices of keeping peace. Peace, in this instance, wasn't free. Production staff sources reveal that while Christine was filming her last scenes, family members were running around behind the camera to erase shots of her leaving interview. Why? Because it didn't fit the narrative Cody wanted to sell. It didn't support the image of a silky smooth, loving plural family. The reality is, for years and decades, Cody's had the last cut on the family story. He's been the writer in charge. But now, between Meri's post, Christine's memoir, and Janelle's candid interviews, that pen is slipping. And the fans? They're finally reading between the lines. For years, Cody has written the rules, hosting family meetings, guiding what gets shown on camera, even consulting legal voices to keep unflattering stories tucked neatly out of sight during off-season recaps. But here's the thing, we're not in that world anymore. This is the era of reposts and screenshots, where news can spread like wildfire before a single camera crew sets foot. And Cody's trusty old playbook? It's beginning to crack. The spine creaks, the pages slide. Just when it appeared he might go back to squeezing again, Meri's stunning clapback broke the mold. Now the real question humming through Brown country isn't about how Cody might regain power. It's about whether any of them can even function anymore. Not when a woman with a phone and a faithful following refuses to flinch. Because the thing is, Meri wasn't standing alone. Not completely. Insiders now claim that when Meri went up with her Defiant Boundaries manifesto, it didn't reverberate in a vacuum. Someone else was listening and responding. Janelle. That's correct. Gently and with no flourish, Janelle touched the heart on Meri's tail. Only one like. No bling. But in a family such as this one, that small action spoke loudly. It was more than cheering. It was solidarity. Janelle has always been the family's truth teller. She's the one who went on national TV and questioned Cody's personal bank transfers publicly. So when Janelle touches that heart, viewers don't perceive it as throwaway. They perceive it as a call to action. A way of saying, you're not crazy, I see it too. And then there's Christine. She hasn't spoken much outright, but fans are skilled at paying attention to the little things. Apparently, Christine double-tapped Meri's sunflower post, a gentle but forceful move most would overlook unless they knew where to look. To the world at large, just another like. But to fans, particularly the women over 50 who follow Christine in droves, it felt intimate. This wasn't just virtual support, it was emotional validation. And from Christine, that matters. After all, she's trod this path already, stealthily enduring the same cycles of domination and double standards. She's alluded to it in her memoir. She's endured the group chat drama. And now, she's giving her silent affirmation to Meri's moment. It's not a scream. But in a family where open revolt is hazardous, a whisper sounds like thunder. To veteran viewers, that move had the feel of a secret handshake, a quiet display of solidarity between the women who have ventured out of the patriarch's shadow. And what of Robyn? She's remained silent. No likes, no comments, no reposts, nothing. That silence can sound innocent, but to fans paying close attention, it only increased suspicions. Her silence sounds deliberate. And in a family with its history of divide and conquer, some interpret her inaction as loudly spoken as Meri's post. Some of her fans believe that Robyn's silence is part of a game plan, that she's holding out for Cody to give her the okay before she speaks. Others think she's just too shook up to intervene, particularly in the wake of the fallout from Janelle's latest money bombshells. Either way, her silence is doing all the talking. And what it's saying, to many, sounds an awful lot like complicity, like she's quietly co-signing whatever story Cody's whooping up next. But whereas Robyn remained silent, other whispers began to circulate throughout the fandom, clues hidden between digital breadcrumbs. A rumor, unsubstantiated, alleged that Meri and Janelle were seen together, just the two of them, enjoying a subdued brunch and some low-profile Scottsdale coffee shop. No paparazzi, no glam team, just two gals, a couple of lattes, and perhaps a few bombs of truth dropped between slices of avocado toast. We don't know for certain what was exchanged behind those dark-tinted cafe windows, but insiders report the get-together lasted more than 90 minutes and concluded with knowing grins. Others even insist they departed with an agreement. No Brown sister is quiet again. If that secret powwow actually occurred, it could revolutionize everything. Because if Janelle and Meri are getting into alignment now, overt or not, that's a change Cody never anticipated. And it leads us to the question that really matters. Will this sisterly solidarity last? Or will Cody manage to sabotage it before it takes hold? Because in this modern war of likes, posts, and group chats, unity is the ultimate power move. And if Meri and Janelle truly stand side by side, the battleground might just tilt in a direction we've never seen before. But Meri's moment isn't just shaking up the Brown household. It's touching something much bigger. Out past the dust of Arizona and the confused timelines of reality television, Meri's tale has hit a cultural chord, particularly with women aged over 50. Her quiet but assertive defiance, her lesson in boundaries and dignity, has resonated in ways no one could ever have anticipated. Behind-the-scenes sources confirm her plain declaration. Chivalry is not dead in my book. Began spreading far wider than the typical fan bases. It is a rallying cry for women who've spent decades putting others before themselves, quietly shouldering the burden and being told that their moment of boldness is already behind them. But no more. Now, Her message is being shared in women's networking groups, book clubs, even in corporate diversity trainers, used as an actual life lesson in how to draw boundaries without losing elegance. It wasn't just reality television viewers holding their pearls, Soap Opera Spy reported. Life coaches and LinkedIn professionals were posting her quotes, creating candid conversations in the break room, lunch get-togethers, and private text messages. Even a syndicated morning show caught on to the buzz. There, a clinical psychologist, simply known as Dr. Crane, described how Meri's message resonated. She clarified that for many women in midlife, particularly those who have spent years taking care of others, learning to stand up for personal standards can do more than guard your peace. It can reconstruct your sense of self. Dr. Crane described something that resonated with many viewers, particularly those in middle age. She explained that when women begin asserting clear boundaries during this part of life, it doesn't merely avoid drama or lessen stress. It can actually resuscitate former dreams that were quietly shelved for years. She did not call out the Browns by name, but come on, the timing was not an accident. Sources report producers began splicing together segments of Dr. Crane's commentary and began weaving them into future segment teasers, selling it as the boundary conversation every matriarch needs. And they weren't mistaken, because while Meri's sunflower emoji kept ringing out around the internet, something larger began to flower. Experts started publishing think pieces on Medium, referring to her blog as a turning point, a moment of power demonstrating how women age 50 plus are no longer standing on the sidelines of social media. They're leveraging it, on purpose, with force, and the evidence was all around. The hashtag boundaries are beautiful trended not just as a topic, but as a movement. In small towns across the Midwest, quilting bees turned into conversation circles about emotional labor. Women who once swapped cookie recipes were now swapping wisdom about self-worth and mutual respect. Two well-known podcasters recorded entire episodes unpacking Meri's post, line by line. They treated it like political speech, pulling apart the phrasing and tone with the same care you'd give to a State of the Union address. Even career coaches jumped on the trend. One YouTuber with many fans created a full tutorial dedicated to something she labeled the Post-Meri Manifesto, walking her viewers through how to write a caption like Meri's. She even dissected the imagery, assertive language, and yes, the calculated use of that cheeky little winking face emoji. On all platforms, the consensus was the same. Meri had been blueprinted, a viral roadmap for how to walk the line between grace and grit and still come out standing tall. And just when the buzz started to reach a fever pitch, a juicy twist landed. Word filtered that a top national morning show host has reached out to Meri personally. The proposal? A solo sit-down, one that wouldn't simply revisit family drama, but delve into the actual tale behind her now infamous message of self-respect and strength. Will Meri take center stage and provide fans with the receipts they're hungry for? Or will she keep it close to the vest, biding time until the right moment to pounce? Either way, the cameras are already rolling. The questions are ready. And this next move could reshape not only Meri's personal story, but the way a whole generation of women takes back their voice. But under the sunflower-drenched revolution, another fire was burning: money. According to new whispers in fan circles, Cody's real fear might not be public backlash or a few critical Instagram posts. It's what could happen if the family's finances get dragged into the light. And last night, that fear got a little more real. A leaked screenshot emerged in a Sister Wives Only subreddit. It seemed to depict a $250,000 payment from Coyote Pass Ventures LLC direct to an offshore account labeled with one mysterious designation, M. The photo was out of focus. The information was unclear. But the aroma? It smelled of something hidden deep, a money secret that no reality television edit could sanitize. Behind the scenes, rumors have swirled for years that Cody's trail of money isn't exactly transparent. Insiders explain that he's been working behind a maze of shell companies and private account books, doling out money with roughly as much openness as a magician in a cloud of smoke. Sources say, not long after Meri departed the fold, Cody took some quiet but revealing steps. He supposedly altered passwords on important accounts and started reclassifying large expenses under Robyn's name, hiding the paper trail just deep enough to avoid easy notice. But fans are not dumb. They've pieced together the evidence with redacted tax returns and even background details in Janelle's Instagram stories, such as thank you cards that rested on countertops and expense tags that didn't compute. Now that Meri's following is increasing by the thousands, each new follower begins to feel like a possible digital detective, equipped with screenshots, receipts, and determination. And here's the kicker. If Meri were to post about what she knows, it wouldn't be a family feud, it would be a financial audit. Janelle's new 4-part tell-all had already pulled back the curtain. She spoke of a $30,000 group investment that somehow paid for an unexpected buying spree of designer furnishings at Robyn's home. Christine's upcoming book hints at even more, implying that in the early days of the marriage, Cody wrote clauses in their agreements governing who had access to joint bank accounts. And now, as Meri's grasp extends across media platforms, those formerly secret clauses, they might be pulled into the light of day. Because every like, every comment, every story view, it's all becoming digital evidence in what's beginning to feel like a public reckoning. That's why her subtler line, "Truth ages well," struck deeper than most fans understood. Her Instagram story didn't simply read like a witty caption. It read like a warning shot. Meri knows where the receipts are buried, and she might very well have an idea or two where some skeletons hide. So while her admirers applaud her guts and line drawing, the internet sleuths have begun guessing. What's Cody going to do next? Will he use a cease and desist letter to try to shut her down legally? Will he slide into her DMs with guilt-stained appeals for family harmony as his lawyers scramble to write up new NDAs? Or will he double down on the public stage, issuing a highly scripted statement concerning family privacy, just as hashtags such as #FollowTheMoney begin trending on social media? Whatever he chooses to do, here's the reality. The more strongly Cody attempts to direct the narrative, the brighter Meri's spotlight shines on the teeny-tiny print he desperately didn't want anyone to read. And this, folks, is where the stakes go flying sky high. If Meri goes ahead and releases those financial documents, she can do more than cause an uproar. She can destroy the entrenched mythology of Cody as kindly patriarch trying to keep a family together. But let's get real. Going public with raw documents is in real danger. It can violate contracts, bring lawsuits, and perhaps most difficult of all, dissolve the fragile sisterhood Meri's worked so hard to restore. Because if you point the spotlight at a 6-figure cash trail, some people applaud, and others cringe. What if she pulls that trigger? Will the audience support her mission of truth? Or will they retreat from the consequences, fearing the showmanship has spilled over from emotional to actual financial? Either way, one thing's certain. The ripple effects will reach everything. Family meetings, group texts, brand endorsements, even the tone of next season. And from what people close to the show are telling us, what's next? It's going to blow up. Out in the desert outside Arizona, the winds are whirling with rumors. Will Meri finally release those dusty records? Or will she keep her receipts stashed away tight, allowing tension speak a little longer? She's waiting for the right moment, some say, mindful that a wholesale document dump could set off a firestorm so blazing, even the best spin doctors can't put it out. Others think she's aware of the magic of suspense. By keeping them waiting just a little bit longer, she keeps them poised on the edge of their seats, watching each post, each emoji, wondering if the next click will open it all up. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, according to sources, Cody's lawyers are already busy. Cease and desist letters, apparently written and waiting in the wings. Their intention? Shut up Meri in the name of protecting private family business. It's the old script, when the new one doesn't have any more tricks up its sleeve. Bully the truth teller and pray she hangs up the mic. But the thing is, in a world where viral statuses can't be unsent and screenshots travel quicker than subpoenas, Cody's play could blow up, in a bad way. And don't forget about the wild card, that sister wives alliance we've discussed. If Janelle or Christine comes forward with supporting information, if that whispered brunch promise actually happened, then Cody might be up against more than one strong woman. He might be up against an alliance. In the meantime, over in the court of public opinion, the jury's already assembling. Fans, particularly those aged over 50, aren't observing quietly. They're gathering online, swapping screenshots, interpreting coded emojis, and dissecting every new crumb Meri releases. They want to know, does that M on the offshore wire refer to Meri? Or is it an alias for something even more sinister? Should she share redacted papers to shield innocent parties? Or should she publish all, no editing? Come what may. Every theory heightens the suspense. Every remark is a ballot. And the social networks? It's no longer a medium. It's a stage, an arena, where every update seems like the crash of a gavel. So now we leave the question in your hands. Will Meri Brown press the publish button and redefine the Brown family history for all time? And can Cody's legal heat actually douse the wave she's on? Or will it just fuel the fire further? Leave us your comments below. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and stick with us for the latest developments as they happen. The next video on your screen is already preloaded, and believe me, you won't want to miss what comes next.